It's the next day and I'm awoken by Sven, the local bard at the Sleeping Giant Inn, singing a rendition of Ragnar the Red.
But then he went quiet, did Ragnar the Red, when he met the shield maiden Matilda, who said...
I pause for a moment out of empathy, sensing the bard's struggle for attention, a sentiment that will soon change as I grow weary of hearing the same songs over and over. I head to the Riverwood trader to find a brother and sister arguing about how their shop had been broken into, and the man at the counter, Lucan Valerius, assures me that they are still open for business. He tells me of an item that was stolen from him. It's made of gold and shaped like a dragon's claw.
Solid gold in the shape of a dragon's claw.
He seems to think it's located in Bleak Falls Barrow. His sister Camilla seems to have zero faith in me as she so rudely blurts out,
"So this is your plan, Lucan?"
insinuating that I am not cut for the task at hand. To be fair, I can barely fend off a wolf at this point, let alone whatever challenges I may face at Bleak Falls Barrow, so perhaps her doubts are valid. I ask Lucan what he has for sale and he says,
"Oh, a bit of this and a bit of that."
And I purchase the spell tomes Fury and Clairvoyance. Camilla then offers to guide me to Bleak Falls Barrow to retrieve the Golden Claw, and Lucan tells her that she can only guide me to the edge of town, which is really no help considering the edge of town is just a stone's throw away. I can literally see it from the front door. Again, this lady must think I'm an idiot. No faith in me whatsoever. I walk back to the Sleeping Giant Inn while completely giving my guide the cold shoulder. Inside, I try to get some actual sleep, as the bard seems to have called it for the time being. In my sleep, I reflect on what I've learned and put another point into health, because let's be real, I need all the help that I can get at this point when I can get one-shotted by a wolf. I also put a skill point into alteration magic so I can better utilize my 2 new spell tomes I just purchased. I wake up thirsty, so I drink some water and decide to put a little time into learning my new spells. Clairvoyance was a breeze to learn, and I test it out inside the inn as a blue mist illuminates on the fragmented and splintered ground. As if the spell can peer into my thoughts, it points me in the direction of the task that I have in the forefront of my mind. I go outside and 3 children approach. The blonde one looks me up and down with disapproval, but takes a seat beside me anyway as we sit in silence. The other children begin to stare, and we all remain unspoken. It's so nice outside I decide to study another spell, Fury, and this one appears to be fairly easy to grasp as well. As sunset approaches, I choose to take a stroll all the way to the edge of town, which takes me all of 15 seconds, which is exactly why I can't imagine why Camilla wanted to guide me. Next, I head to the local forge to see about crafting some new gear and realize I don't have many materials, so I check to make sure the coast is clear and snag some iron ingots. To elude suspicion, I hop onto the tanning rack to tan some leather.
Nothing to see here.
I still don't have enough to craft anything of value, so I step into the streets of Riverwood and open my ears to the eerie calm as everyone seems to have turned in for the night. Trying to make friends, I walk into Alvar and Sigrid's house. Upon entering, their child says,
"You lost?"
which makes me chuckle as it's a very appropriate response to someone just walking into your home unannounced.
"You're all right, kid. You're all right."
I trick Alvar into thinking that there's a spider on his face as he smacks himself upside the head, and I'm like,
Got him."
He doesn't seem amused and says,
All right, then.
I determine I've overstayed my welcome and decide it best be time I head out. In the streets, I test out my newly acquired spells a bit more. Fury sounds like fun, but I'm too afraid to use it on the living right now, as I don't want to provoke anyone into disliking me any more than they already do. And let's be real, I don't want to start a fight I know I won't win. So I charge up my spell and cast it off into the distance. Amazed by its speed, I quickly catch a glimpse of its red glow illuminate the underside of the guard tower as it passes by. I begin to feel powerful as I bask in the red and blue glow emitting from the palms of my hands. Back inside the Sleeping Giant Inn, I meet Gore, and he claims to have killed more men than there are minutes in a day. I'm not impressed as I say nothing and walk away. I introduce myself to Nesbjorn, and he tells me nothing that I don't already know. So I turn to his friend Odolf, and he also tells me nothing new. Back to the Riverwood trader, I purchase 2 cheap deer hides that are in poor condition so I can make some more leather strips to craft a hide helmet for Alvor. As my thirst begins to grow, I grab my silver mug and have another sip of water. As I'm looking around town to find Alvor, I decide to check the inn, and right as I'm about to walk in, guess who's coming out? He gets a little too close for comfort as I can smell the rancid horker meat clinging to his breath. Looking to get away ASAP, I swiftly hand over the helmet, but he gives it right back because he doesn't approve and tells me to take it to the armor workbench to try to adjust the fit a bit. I begin to get more proficient with the smithing tools as I hone my metalworking techniques, which is great because I want to make some solid weapons and armor eventually. I head back into Alvar's house to deliver the helmet, and he tells me to keep it along with the dagger that I also crafted for him. I guess my work leaves a bit to be desired. Disheartened, I leave his home and refill my water skin at the water station just outside, and I decide to turn in for the night. Just as I lie down, a fight breaks out in the common area.
You're willing to back those words up with your fists.
How is a Dragonborn supposed to get any sleep around here with all the fighting and non-stop singing?
More like the Sleepless Giant Inn, am I right?
I wake around 1 a.m. and decide to go for a walk. The air is crisp and the breeze is welcoming as the inn tends to get quite warm with the aid of the roaring fire that burns all night. While out, I decide to change my hair from blonde to blonde. This tone just seems to glow a little less in the dark. Outside the Sleepless Giant Inn, I introduce myself to the local bard, Sven. He tells me about his fondness for Camilla, Lucan's sister, and how Faendal, a local mill worker and archer, is sneaking over to the Riverwood trader when Sven is not around. While in conversation, a dog walks up and gives me a healthy headbutt. Sven whines some more and tries to give me a letter to hand to Camilla that paints Faendal in a bad light. I had noticed in conversation that Sven said Camilla would invite Faendal over, so I don't see what the problem is. Let a girl make her own decisions. I decide to stay out of it, and he says,
Then what are you wasting my time for?
and I'm like,
Excuse me, who's wasting whose time here?
I head inside and take a seat so I can study some more spells. I browse through my collection of notes and get a few more tasks that I add to my journal, and sleep through the rest of the night. I wake around 10 a.m. thirsty and hungry, so I eat a wedge of moldy cheese and half a head of cabbage. Then I wash it down with some water. I head back outside. The fog is dense this morning. The smell of lavender and blue mountain flower is strongly gripping to the dense, muggy mountain air. I begin to head towards Bleak Falls Barrow to retrieve the golden claw, partly because I could use the gold, but I must admit that my motivation is primarily driven by proving that wench Camilla that I have what it takes to complete the task at hand. Then, surprise, I get killed by yet another wolf. This time I'm ready and I get in a few strikes as I can tell that my weapon handling is increasing. Just when I think I'm about to get my first kill, the wolf flees, so I continue on my way. As I resume my trek along the path up the mountain, the air grows thin and cold as piles of snow begin to collect in patches clinging to the rocks that line the walkway. I'm beginning to think I should have traded my ropes for some warmer gear, but decide to press on. There's a guard tower just ahead and I can see some bandits roaming around outside. I sneak to the best of my ability, but I'm spotted with ease. I haven't quite got the hang of this sneaking thing yet. I approach the man outside with my weapon drawn and he starts to gyrate and thrust his pelvis. Is this some sort of bandit mating call? I can't tell if he wants to fuck or fight. Is this supposed to intimidate me or turn me on? I take a swing with my hook blades and he starts riding his mace like it's a hobby horse, and then he stops horsing around and demolishes me with one heavy blow from his weapon. This time I approach with my bow and get one shot off, and then he proceeds to taunt me with some more gyrating gestures.
What is this guy's deal?
I back off and fall down the rocks, make my way back up the cliffside and shoot 2 more arrows, both making contact while one of the arrows drives straight through his skull. I celebrate with a no-handed backflip cartwheel thing right into a rock. Another bandit approaches and it's time for me to make up for all my combat mishaps up to this point. We dance around each other as I land a few shots with my bow and I begin to feel more familiar with the force and finesse needed to properly take aim and release. I land a final kill shot as she charges toward me with the rage of a bear in her gaze. I'm about to loot her corpse as another bandit yells,
You call yourself a Nord? Ha! Ysgramor would be ashamed of you!
As he pops up from behind the rock, I take him out with one well-placed arrow, knocking him back a few feet. And I'm like,
You're a Nord. I'm a Nord, what are you? Never mind.
I need to level up my comebacks. I got pretty roughed up in that battle. I proceed to loot the bodies left in the wake of my path of destruction. I steal some gloves because my hands are frozen and immediately equip them as I can barely feel my fingertips. I swap my bow with the one that I looted off one of the bandits, and this one seems to be of better build quality. The wood appears more sturdy and the strings feel tighter. I approach the Riverwood Folly and walk inside, looting anything of value I can find. Grab some septums, some wine, and 11 lockpicks. I steal a little bit of the bandits' mead because they ain't gonna need it anymore, and head back outside and continue on my way. As I round the corner, the ruins of Bleak Falls Barrow appear ominous and sturdy against the beautiful backdrop of the salmon-colored sky. A bandit spots me immediately and charges me like a bull, saying,
You call yourself a Nord? Ha! Ysgramor would be ashamed of you!
and I'm all. I dodge a few of his attacks and hit him in the chest with an arrow as my archery skills grow even stronger. I head back towards the ruins to find some septums in an abandoned cart. 5 bandits come at me at the same time. I know this isn't going to end well and get absolutely roasted. Same thing basically happens again, except this time I get a jolt of electricity strong enough to stun a mammoth. I decide I'm too weak to be here yet, and so I head back to Riverwood. Night begins to fall, so I pull out my torch. As soon as I arrive, I gaze up at a remarkable sky and bask in the glow of an amazing full supermoon. I go back to the Sleepless Giant Inn and try my hand at cooking some food. Before it spoils, I prepare some of the venison I stole back at the Half Moon Mill and brew up some lavender tea. With the terrible sleep I've been getting, I lose track of what day it is and try to rent a room that I already rented, and Delphine says,
Are you joking? You just rented a room from me.
At least she's honest. I remove my equipment and lie down for the night. I hear Whiterun is a place I must visit and isn't very far from Riverwood, so I try my best to ignore the bard as I start to wonder about what I will discover and who I will meet there as I begin to drift off to sleep.
But this land is ours, and we'll see it wiped clean of the scourge that has sullied our hopes.
Pieces.
Peace.